I should have known something was wrong when Hector suddenly started buying new clothes and cologne. He'd always been a simple guy, content with a plain white t-shirt and a pair of jeans. But over the past few months, he'd been coming home from work with these gifts. A new watch, a designer shirt, a bottle of expensive cologne. He'd just shrug and say he'd gotten a good deal on it, or that his coworker had given it to him. But it was more than that. He'd started deleting his text messages and browser history regularly. At first I thought it was just because he was a bit of a neat freak, but then I noticed he'd get defensive if I even mentioned it. Like, I would casually bring it up and he'd immediately become guarded. Tell me I was being paranoid. And then there were the comments. He'd make these little remarks about how I was not as put together as I used to be, how I should take more care of myself. At first I thought he was just trying to be helpful, but then I realized he was comparing me to other women. My cousin, my friends, even just random women we'd see on the street. He'd make these snide comments and I would brush it off, tell myself he was just joking. But deep down, I knew something was off. I was pregnant with our first child, and I was scared. This was a high-risk pregnancy, and I was on bed rest for most of it. Hector was supposed to be my rock, my support system. But instead, he was distant, emotionally distant. I remember one time I asked him about his day and he just brushed me off. Told me he was busy, that he'd talk to me later. And when I pressed him, he got defensive. Said I was being clingy, that I needed to give him space. I felt like I was walking on eggshells around him, never knowing what would set him off. And I started to doubt myself. Was I being paranoid? Was I just being jealous? But then, I saw the post. On social media. It was his birthday, and my cousin had posted a photo of them together. They were smiling, laughing, and they were holding hands. My heart stopped. I felt like I would been punched in the gut. I could not breathe. I kept staring at the photo, trying to process what I was seeing. My cousin, the woman I would grown up with, the woman I would considered a friend. And Hector, my husband, my business partner. I tried to call him, but he did not answer. I sent him a text, but he just ignored me. And I started to dig. I looked into his phone records and I saw the texts, the flirtatious messages, the secret meetings. It was then that I found out he'd been paying my cousin's rent, while making me split bills with him. I felt like I would been living in a lie. I thought back to all the times I would seen him sneaking around. My neighbor had mentioned it to me once, how she'd seen him lurking around my cousin's apartment building. I would brushed it off, told myself she was just mistaken. But it was not just my neighbor. His ex-wife had told me once that he had a pattern, that he'd cheat on his partners, make them feel crazy. And I would thought she was just bitter, that she was still angry from their divorce. But now I was not so sure. I felt like my whole world was crashing down around me. I did not know who to trust, what to believe. All I knew was that I had to confront him. I took a deep breath, and I called him. I told him we needed to talk, that I knew what was going on. And he just laughed. Told me I was being paranoid, that I was overreacting. But I was not going to let him gaslight me. I was not going to let him make me feel crazy. I told him to come home, that we were going to have a talk. And as I waited for him to arrive, I could not help but think about everything I would lost. The future I would planned, the family I would wanted to build. It was all slipping away from me, and I did not know if I could ever get it back. But I was determined to try. I was determined to take back control, to reclaim my power. And as I stood there waiting for Hector to walk through the door, I knew that I was ready. I was ready to face him, to face the truth. And I was ready to take back my life,